Tex has the right idea. That's what I forgot to do. Actually eat.
I also
Eat
haven't.
some food.
What did you get?
Both of you. I
Both
bagels.
of us are starving ourselves, Johnny.
We'll just had things to do.
Hello.
Hey, or good to see you.
Welcome
Howard.
back, everyone who was at Rare Evo.
Hi, Elaine.
Hello. Hi, Elaine.
Hello.
Okay.
Gord, we do have a poll in the Discord about 2 incubation requests if you want to put your vote in as well.
Thanks for letting me know. I'll open Discord.
Discord also has links to all of the developer advocate interviews as well as the notes sheet. So
It's a lot of content. I'd start with the notes sheet first. But shout out to Elaine, Johnny, and Tex for running all those interviews, mostly.
Philip too.
And Philip.
Oh, actually, I did speak with Philip. I believe, if I wasn't mistaken, he's better off in the afternoons. I know that makes things a little bit difficult because Elaine is obviously better in the mornings. But if we want to at all bring up a potential change in cadence, we can always look at that at some point.
We can also try to split things, possibly. Although I don't really know how that would work, actually, like, after saying that. But, you know.
Yeah, you would need some asynchronous coordination to make sure that tallies are carried between both meetings.
Yeah.
But I guess the best alternative for him would be doing your morning, his evening, maybe. Kind of overlap, but that would be night for most of us, I think. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, that could work. Okay. Yeah, so first thing that I wanted to cover in this is the first thing on the ClickUp. So with respect to budget and with respect to just a moment. Write this down. Yeah, okay. With respect to budget and with respect to milestone approval, we talked about this in the previous like meeting on Wednesday. But I wanted to talk about that again about if that's approved or not. If all of the budget milestones are approved.
So there's a final meeting tomorrow. All we're doing is working out any deviations from milestones we curated to specific metrics mentioned in the Ecclesia poll. One example is like bug bounty. We put the milestone to redeem 1, and that gets us the big pot of the money. But we stipulated in the proposal that we might support 10 to 50 incident requests, depending on demand. So I just tied that into the last 10% of the milestone. That way we still have the whole budget, and depending on demand, we may or may not get that last 10% of the milestone. Depends on how utilized the bug bounty is. So that's just one thing.
So, sorry, could you repeat that? It was that like it's mostly approved, but that there's like the last like bit of it.
I can hop in on this here. So as we got the milestones moved from the separate documents into the actual contract document, I had asked this in a couple of other calls, but it's if I remember correctly, I shared that contract document for views, for comments, for response in the Discord channel. where most everyone has been communicating. And I left that up for lazy consensus, meaning that if nobody brought me a major issue with those milestones or anything else in that contract, then things would move forward. And again, it's just between myself and Christian working with our operational services team to get that organized.
Okay.
I can take some time in the work session later today for any who are attending to go through that. So,
yeah,
got some flexibility if that's desired.
Deadline is tomorrow if we want to get things live with money moving. So,
I don't think I'll be able to attend that, but I'll double check in the actual document.
And just a notice that we are not yet at quorum, so we have 4 members present currently.
Oh yes, actually, I will open up the attendance sheet for that and start marking everyone as present.
I do believe Lucas said he'd be out this week.
Yeah, he was telling me to run it. Oh. We have Terrence, Christian, not Lucas, Elaine, Arnaud, Gaylord, John Kelly. Not not Sebastian yet. Not Philip. Not Niels. Oh, Adam Dean. Yes.
Sebastian is also out this week.
Okay. Was not aware of that.
I think we have quorum though. For the most part.
Adam does make us score it just barely.
Okay. Then I think we can probably proceed. Yes. Okay. Then on to the next subject, which is the other stuff related to budget. So the projects support services, for example, like offering legal and security audits to projects. It was my understanding that we hadn't figured out how to allocate that budget. That we want to maybe support stuff like audits for projects if it's not super large in scope, and that seems good to me. Does anyone know about that?
So to clarify too, we do have, where's the ClickUp form? I just had it. Yeah.
Yes or no?
I'm not sure if this is exactly what's reached down into the budget documents, but I'm pretty sure that there is things we can do here because that's exactly what we are going through as part of the Amaru project. Is like, oh, you are doing some open source project which is funded by the Cardinal Treasury or the Open OSC budget or whatever. How do you get that money? How do you make that money not look like money laundering? How do you make it legal and pay taxes on it? How do you pay your salaries on it with it? So I think this is kind of money that could be spent through legal advices saying, okay, we your project is I don't know, headquartered in some country somewhere on the planet. We can give you a fraction, or we can spend a fraction of that budget to try to find a good legal counsel that would tell us what's the best framework to do that, or we can accumulate that knowledge over time. So that's an example where, but not sure if that makes sense or this is something that was planned there.
Tex?
Yeah, I was just going to mention. So we've had a focus and continued on with that to form strategic partnerships. These strategic partnerships not only give us a mutual benefit as Intersect, but give us a further benefit as having a known partner for us to directly engage for these support services. And as it's seen, what we would be asking the committee is, for XYZ project that is requested support, do we have authorization to spend paying this supplier, the supplier being somebody that provides these support services on behalf of XYZ project?
Yep. And the form I put down below is how we're categorizing the request. So it gets information from the project, what they're looking for, and the level of support, because that'll also determine spend. And maybe we categorize a max cap for each service requested. And then we can do an RFP process. The idea was me and Tex would do some research and propose options, and then the OSC can align how they actually want to spend it. And then we'll work with delivery assurance to get contracts in place.
Sorry, you said that that you were preparing like a bunch of like options, and then like for how we can spend it and presenting that to the OSC for like deliberation.
Yep. So depending on what they're looking for, but like if it's legal, we already have the chin strap people for legal support, commercialization, business strategy, stuff like that. So we would automatically put them as a recommendation, but we could also include Storm, who's a partner, depending on what also the project wants to align their process to. But you do also have education suppliers, design, governance. Like we have a bunch of people already in Cardano who do stuff. So this is trying to sponsor inter projects or providers within our own networks. So.
Okay. I would very much like to see those. I'd very much like to see those options, ideas, like as to what to spend that on. Is that up anywhere, or is that just a
service catalog? It's kind of the menu. We published it last year, and then this specific line item was associated to that.
Okay.
So I'll share that, and then I do have a template framework doc that is completely unpolished about how we would manage the process. So I'll clean that up and share it with you for feedback.
Cool. Fantastic. Thank you. Let's see what else we have here on the agenda for project support services. I think that's the main thing. There's also there's a few more items, but I don't think that they're going to be under like budget. So I think if there's no other budget stuff that we needed to talk about, we can move on. But I get the feeling that there was one more thing, and it was something that Adam Dean was.
Was this about the schedule for release of funds and the contention around 30 to 45-day delays in payment?
Yeah, I think that was it. are we all? Do we have any further objections to the new thing that came out about that? About like, I think it was if we submit everything like 5 days before the deadline, we should be able to get it back.
The milestones
within
have been
30
set up.
days.
The milestones have been set up to be 1 day before the 30-day period before payment. So the
Okay.
milestones are set up to the 14th of the month, which is the day before the 15th deadline, and then you have a 5-day. You have a 5-day buffer within that to get everything in. But if the milestone itself is the day before, then there would be a 30-day wait for the payment after the milestone is met. Was how it was left. It may have changed.
I think it changed slightly, but I think it just changed so that like now you can't get the 45-day, or now it's not likely to get the 45-day like case. But yeah, Adam.
Yeah, that was a misunderstanding on the Intersect management's part about how the smart contracts actually work. So once the funds start releasing, they only stop releasing if there's an explicit hold put on the account due to non-delivery of the.
Okay.
So, and Intersect is just as likely to not slap a hold on payment the day after missing a milestone. So like you would have to miss a whole month's worth of milestones before they could pause your next payment, and then that would somehow be delayed. So, and since everybody should get paid, so as long as you start your milestones and stay consistent, there should never be an actual delay in payment coming out.
Oh, fantastic!
And that language was supposed to be getting clarified in the Git book or wherever it was written down, but I'm not sure if it has yet or not. Tex might know a little bit more about that.
I don't specifically, but I will research for that verbiage. But what I was going to say is that there is some formal planning still in the stages where the milestone has a date, the payment has a date, the smart contract being set to the payment dates. We're still expected to submit stuff within an accordant amount of time for Intersect to review it. What Adam has stated, though, is correctly, though, is with the smart contracts being set up so that the payments are automatic. My understanding of what's come back from Intersect is to avoid a misuse of admin costs. Essentially, they would be somewhere between 5 days or 3 days, or even as little as 1 day ahead of that smart contract withdrawal, or the smart contract being able to take from. Basically, they're not going to pause it until the very last minute, providing you've gotten your documents in at some point. So we don't want to heavily publicize that. We want to do things the right way. But yes, the point that was brought up is that you can't, once a smart contract payment date is established, it's going to pay on that date unless it's stopped. So.
Okay. Could you repeat your first point before that? The confirmation of Adam's thing.
As far as like the verbiage on Gitbook,
was there something that you said like about after you said that you'd confirm the verbiage?
Okay. So
he said he was going to.
What I was stating is that the way that the contract is set up, the contract is still established as a normal contract. I was just aligning that the smart contract dates are set for the payment dates. Right. So the payment dates are the dates set within the smart contract. The deliverable dates, the milestone due dates, are still established 30 days ahead of time as a normal procedure for Intersect as an administrator to have time to conduct business.
Okay. The 30 days thing is still in place. Okay. Then I think that unless anybody has any further objections to the the way that funds will be distributed for like the milestones, unless anybody else has any objections to that, I think like it seems better than previously. And if we're not going to raise anything, I think we can move forward. Does anybody want to raise anything with Intersect about that? Or Not with Intersect. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then I think we can move on. Next thing is pretty light. Actually, I'm gonna switch to sharing the ClickUp because I think it's probably it's a little bit more informative. Yeah. So next thing on the agenda is very small, just about the voice channels. This idea was that like if we have like a private voice channel for the OSC, then whenever people are working on stuff, you can just join, and it can hopefully foster some more like spontaneous like communication about stuff. Yeah. How does everyone feel about this? And also, does anybody? Well, I guess I'll ask the next question like after we get feedback on that. How does the committee feel about this? Personally, I am in favor of it. It seems like a pretty lightweight thing that would help out and not be super complicated to set up.
It's already been set up.
Oh, has it?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
There's an invite that everyone received, and some people may have dismissed because it is an all-day event from now through the end of the year. It is labeled as OSC internal. It's a free space where you can jump in at any point. Conversations can still be recorded as they benefit, as needed in order to benefit.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Jonathan Kelly?
Yeah, just to further clarify, it's not a channel in the Discord. It's a continuous Google Meet with a single link for drop in at any time. So
Okay.
it's not a voice channel.
Okay, so we didn't end up using Discord for that. So it's going to get recorded, as you said?
It has the ability for record, which is
Okay.
something we do not have in Discord.
Yes.
If
Is it
it's
set up to like
in-
auto record or anything?
No, but I believe if you're not able, well, we can check it out. But anybody should be able to
Okay.
get in there and do what's needed. So,
My
Okay.
curiosity is if it's an all-day meeting and you record, does it not give you the recording until the end date at the end of the year?
no, as long as you start and stop the recording, it'll provide the recording in the standard 45 minutes to 3 hours.
Okay, cool. Then I think we can probably just move on from that. Okay. Yeah, this was about continuing. Oh, yes.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. This was about continuing to use Zeit. So Lucas recorded a little like video. It's like a loom on like the outcomes of like the one of the meetings that we had together about just various things. And the point of recording that loom, that Zeit, was to try to allow people to watch it like asynchronously before the meeting to free up some of the meeting time. Yeah, it seems to me that like uptake of like actually like watching that video was kind of low, and it's been low. I tried to follow up with everyone, sending a like DM on Discord. I don't know if everyone saw that or if it got filtered somehow, but yeah, it seems to me like it's not like doing very well at like uptake. So it's not communicating more information ahead of time if nobody's using it. So personally, I think we can probably, and I was talking to Arnaud as well, and it seems like at least for like some members of the team, like the like length of it, like the length of having like a recording is like inconvenient and like not as efficient as having like a text-based communique. I don't know how to say it out loud. Communique. I don't know. Communique. But yeah, like a written like communication.
document.
So I'm personally in favor of like chalking the Zeit thing up to like a failed experiment. Did anybody have any input about that?
I do.
Yes.
I'm going to raise something I feel other committee members would raise, and maybe I'm wrong, so y'all can shoot me down. I would suggest against additional tooling right now until we can properly utilize the tooling that we have at our disposal.
I would second that.
Okay.
I would third that, if that's a word. I don't think it's a word in English.
Makes sense.
And just to add, I think, yeah, maybe the one advantage of things which are in written form, and what you did with Locash as this experiment, and is that it's easier to index, it's easier to browse, it's easier to point at. It's easier for everyone to extract or to look at exactly what you're looking at, or what the fragment of information you're interested in or you care about. I mean, and it can enrich the Git book and the documents with the continuous log of things. So that's why I don't want to. I mean, personally, I never watch videos because I find them too slow. But and it's not because I'm fast; it's just because I read faster. So because you pick and choose, right? But it's only that. It's just not nothing else.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No. I was, and then the tooling, the additional tooling. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good argument. Complex.
I'd say I'm in agreement with that. That like we haven't gotten any actual mileage out of it, so there's just no reason to continue with it. I'd say going forward, if we need to like communicate a bunch of stuff before the meetings, like we can probably just put out like just a Discord message, perhaps, or any other writing based communication. So I think if there's no objections, we can just continue with that going forward and move on to the next matter, which was about the number of Discord threads and that fraying communication. Yeah, so this was brought up, I think by Tex, that, oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I raised the issue here. As someone who's dealing with multiple responsibilities, obviously that's going to be a factor of my work. But looking at the various channels or threads over the last couple of weeks, they have not been consistently maintained to a point of where there's actual work being done in each thread. And it would just be my perception that has more ability to create confusion for the committee than it is for us to actually get things done. So I would say if we have threads, let's minimize it and pick a couple of topics to focus on at a time. I mean, otherwise we have a lot of additional organization capability with the Google Drive itself that should eliminate the need for threads, especially with as many meetings as we have scheduled as well.
Yeah, Jonathan Kelly.
Yeah, the theory behind the threads was to have a thread for each budget line and project that's being worked on so that the communication would be centralized to that line or program. But the problem is because the threads drop off after some inactivity time, it ended up with bifurcation because people are going to the internal channel to give some input to one of the programs when there is a specific thread for it. So you end up having to jump between multiple locations. I personally dig up the threads by going in and finding the submenu and bringing them back into life, like bumping a thread in a forum. One argument might be to use discussions because they're more persistent, but then you're moving on to different tooling methods again. And the questions around that, are we making things more complicated and adding more locations? But
just to clarify, the GitHub discussions thing?
No, discussions in Discord. There's like an actual forum methodology that keeps things persistent and would be topics rather than threads underneath a chat channel. So that might
Mhm.
be a more consistent method of doing it. But again, it's adding an additional method. So it might end up with 3 locations where things are recorded rather than 1.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe I find threads very useful for somewhat short-lived conversations. I mean, short-lived, focused conversations. So that's in general that's very useful. And then you close the thread once the discussion is basically dragging on and not producing anymore. And using what we already have, like basically the Gitbook as a repository for all persistent outcome would probably be much better, I think.
Using the Gitbook to archive like conversations.
Oh, I mean, more precisely, to archive to store the result, because the conversation itself is probably not super interesting, but the outcome. I mean, and if there is no outcome, there is nothing to persist. But I can imagine, for example, the discussion we are having about the security framework and the bug bounty. Or no, I mean, I was involved in some work on the tooling group. So I can imagine that we spend some time in the Discord channel or in Discord thread, and then you wrap up. You say, okay, we are going to do X, and then we move on. Okay, tooling working group is a particular case, is a special case because it has somehow its own channel, but maybe that's not the best. But the bug bounty, for example, I mean, once we say what we'll be doing, and we know where to move forward, how to move forward, just record the decisions or the outcome somewhere and close the thread.
Okay. Yeah, in terms of like lowering the number of threads, like I think like because we only have like one per like budget line item, like
Again, that was sorry to interrupt. That was the theory.
Yeah.
The practice may not be that.
Yeah. One thing we could do is like have like shorter lived like threads that are just, like on a particular thing, and we just throw them away real quick, close them. We could also just like put decisions on Gitbook. I think that's not like a terrible idea, but I don't I'm not exactly sure if that really replaces the same thing here. Yes.
The threads, because they drop off, and even if they were closed, it does become an administrative quagmire for text, because you'll have to go and check which ones got interaction, which ones didn't, which ones are closed, which aren't. People could start bringing them back. People can bring them back to life. It's a bit of an administrative challenge at times.
So then does that leave? So in terms of like what to do about like Discord, then does that leave any other option than just putting everything into OSC internal, like things we're doing?
As already said, discussions are a more persistent thing, but is that bringing an additional tool or method into the fray that could even lead to more confusion? That is the question. But yeah, discussion forum topics will remain in play and trackable consistently.
Tex, I think your input on that would probably be pretty important, especially because like, we want to make sure that you can, continue seeing everything. I think you're muted.
Sorry, can you re-ask that one more time?
I was saying that threads as a method for administration and tracking is difficult because they drop off, reappear, people go in different locations. One suggestion for making a more persistent place for these topics would be to create a discussion or forum, like in some of the working groups where the topics remain in one place and can be more easily tracked. Is that a good idea, or is that just adding more complication to your administrative workload?
would probably say more complication, but again, we can discuss that in the work session.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I will not be around for the work session, but I don't really have a strong opinion on this, like, either way. So yeah, just please let me know like how that goes if anybody has if like especially like text, please let me know like what if the discussions thing works for you, or if we just or if it would just be more convenient for you to have everything folded into OSC internal, and if anyone objects to that. Okay. Yeah. There was also the matter of having chairs like I wrote this down as pull focus together. Sorry, but I think this was related to like we had too many things like going on, and so like in order to like linearize things a little bit, I guess, having chairs like so Lucas and I, and then when Lucas leaves, like myself and like whoever becomes the next vice chair, co-chair. Yeah, so I guess yeah, we can just do that. We can direct what'll happen. I don't really think there's anything else needed, any other input on that, needed on that. But just as a heads up of something that we'll be doing. Okay. There's nothing else then. I think we will move on to the bug bounty program. Yes. Also, I see Arnaud has dropped. So, yes, Christian working on this. Jonathan being OSC member on this. Oh yeah.
So the action items, we did have meetings regarding this and the initial or incident monitoring. So what we did when we met with Security Council was we're going to set up a manual process for the bug bounty for the interim until Get Honey is a live need via the amount of demand for the bounty program. We're going to work with the Security Council on the incident monitoring to come up with questions for interviewing, and then also find a job description from them for what we're looking for in that role. And then we're going to find appropriate tooling for PagerDuty or something similar to help coordinate the Security Council and make sure that they are the body of authority that even entities like IO report into. And then what we're going to do is the bug bounty framework, the long doc. I'm working on a public version that's easy. I'm going to put that up on Gitbook and make sure we update all the security MDs under our GitHub to reflect that this is live. And we'll just hold requests at that point and see how demand comes.
Okay. Yeah, and I think we're still going to just to summarize the stuff from like the meeting on Wednesday for anybody who wasn't there. Jonathan is still going to be like the OSC member, keeping like tabs on that. But Christian will continue doing, or will be doing much of the legwork.
I'll be sitting in any incident, any Security Council meetings that I get invited to in order to discuss how to coordinate this and make sure that there's communication with a committee member on the topic.
Yes.
And Arnaud, I think, has been the one suggesting a methodology for bug bounty management prior to going over to GitHoney. Possibly leveraging existing GitHub methods, but Arnaud might be able to speak more on that.
Yeah. Also, before Arnaud goes, sorry to interrupt you, but like, could anyone, Christian, did you get information about like if we have a license for that?
For which piece?
The GitHub like bug reporting thing.
Oh, I forgot to do that. I think we do.
And you don't need it.
Yeah, I think it's just a thing.
No,
It's
it's a box to tick on the project.
Oh, okay.
yeah, you're
So
right. What I'm
it's-
looking at is the auditing feature. Scan your organization.
Yeah, which is a different thing. But
Yep.
so yeah, on that thing, I think it's really no brainer because it's just a box to tick. Okay, recent announcements about GitHub might change our minds, but to keep things simple, it's just a matter of clicking a box, and then you get the security vulnerability reporting process set up, where you can have all you need for security researchers to report vulnerabilities in a private way, private and secure way. You have CVSS number calculation and assessment with a form that you can decide to use. You get a private fork, so you can work on reproducing the issues with the researchers and the team involved. Private notification channels, and once you're ready, just publish and you can even publish the CVE. And then and the CVE gets added to the GitHub well-known databases, including GitHub's one, so you can search later on by CVEs. So to me, it's really no-brainer, and we don't have to set up anything. Regarding Git.ly and the overall process, one realization that we had in this meeting, and I would like to have confirmation that I think that's probably a fair assessment, is that the number of requests for bug bounties is very small. And when I mean requests, I mean external requests from actual independent security researchers trying to hack on Cardano and find issues. So in my experience, when I was working close to the node, it was really, really small. It seems like it's still the case. And most of the bug reports come more from internal, so internal work, either at IO. We have a team at CF that's working on that, and potentially people who are, in the inner circles, to speak. So what we said with Christian was, okay, let's wait. We can probably handle the load manually at first and deal with each case on an individual basis, which buys us probably enough time to make sure that we find a proper solution to track and to manage this on-chain. One reason why we might want to take time to do that is because security researchers are sensitive to privacy. And as soon as you disclose the bug, you pay someone on chain, it's an address. So sure, it's just an address, just a bunch of random bytes, but we all know that tracking addresses that start to be used on chain can be done. So
I did have one thing to bring up as well when we were going over the budget line item pieces or milestones, is apparently Intersect's policy is any money sent from this allocation needs a KYC. I was arguing, I don't know if you need that on a bug bounty or not, because it's a reward for disclosure.
It's a good question. It's a good question. My understanding is that you might repel or fend off some researchers that we say, I'm not going to disclose anything on me because it might be too dangerous, or I don't want, or for whatever reasons why if you're living in a country where it can be dangerous for you to disclose that you are working on this kind of stuff. On the other hand, maybe it's not a big deal because there aren't that many. The question is, like, in my humble opinion, this program is important because it might be a way to attract attention from people that would actively try to break what we're doing in a more creative and thorough way than internal people might do, which is both a bane and a boon, obviously. But if you do it through a bug bounty program with responsible disclosure and whatnot, then chances are that if you can attract talented people, then possibly you will find things that we wouldn't have found otherwise, and that might be important. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, I was pushing back, and apparently there's no exceptions from the Intersect delivery assurance team because it's policy. So that may be something we have to work with, or we create enough internal noise that this is one exclusion. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But just wanted to mention that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that this is not, sorry, Alan, I just wanted to add that this is not something that I made up on myself. I just asked a question to a friend of mine who is a security researcher, who gave me a concrete case of someone he worked with who was living in a country where it would be dangerous for this person to disclose what they were doing, and because they could be, attacked, robbed, kidnapped, whatever. So I don't know. Maybe this is just, we don't care that much. Yeah.
My cousin got kidnapped in Colombia a while ago. Still happens.
Wow.
Oh, he's fine. He's fine now. No need to worry. He's okay.
Okay.
Crazy story, that one. But yeah. Wasn't for programming or anything.
We can start that way, and if we, it could also be.
I think in that case, it sounds like the case for GitHoney is like rather limited, and we can probably start with it's probably fair to start with just like the GitHub like feature like for it. I don't know if the GitHub thing like has like an easy way to do KYC, or if we just like arrange that on like a different channel. Like if you just set up
you just logged in as your GitHub user.
Okay. So we have to do that externally. Should probably note that. Yes?
Question, and I apologize, I'm multitasking like crazy right now. Are we discussing no longer moving forward with GitHoney, or just an interim solution?
I'm like suggesting that because like at least from the like what I'm understanding, like it seems that there might be like privacy like issues with it, at least in its current form, and that we don't necessarily like it might not necessarily provide that much utility, like because the number of internal like bug reports is much higher than external.
Arno, can you use my calendar and set a call with Christian and myself and the TX Pipe team?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. That would be best and as quickly as possible. The reason why I'm asking for clarification is that we just discussed this yesterday, where we would essentially be withholding any actual payments for bug bounty until that GitHoney instance is established for us, so that we have a clear track record of any and all payments. And then the payment dates all fall within the contract dates for the budget award.
So yeah, sure. We can talk with Santiago, but I think the main thing is that what we said with Christian on Tuesday was that we can track manually, and we can even track it on chain. The point of GitHoney was to provide a nice and community built and on-chain tool for managing those bounties. It's not there yet, so there's some legwork to do. What I'm suggesting is to keep that as a goal, but also keep as an actual action to keep track of those payments on chain, but doing it manually instead of doing it through GitHoney. That's the only difference with what we had before. Does it help or clarify or whatever?
To an extent, but if there's any way for us to reorchestrate to where we can get an automation going, tracking it manually is going to make it's going to increase the workload on our side, and it's also going to increase the workload on the audit person side as well.
Honestly, we are talking about, I think, 0 submission in 2024. So
Philip joined.
External submission.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but we don't need to take the committee session for it. We can.
Sorry. Let's move on. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you can maybe we can go through a working session later to actually want more details.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna leave the KYC thing listed on the Miro. until we get like anything sorted out for like process for that KYC. Christian, if you could like look into that, that would help a lot. Okay,
Will do.
cool. Then the last thing on here is the maintainer evaluation program. This is, there was a specific thing about this.
Yeah.
Oh yes, surveying which projects are critical, and then like assigning like maintainers to them, and then also in addition to that, how do we want to do ongoing evaluation of maintainers that have been like selected through the program? If we're not going to do any evaluation before like their like term is up, or what to do about that. And then there was a note about IO should not control contributors on Intersect repos. I don't remember that last one entirely well, but we can probably just start with like the survey of which project's critical. Jonathan Kelly?
Well, if you're going to do the second thing second, then Christian, were you about to speak?
Yeah, well, I was going to talk to the IO thing. There's a meeting, I think, next week to cover that topic. But this has to do with if IO cancels a vendor contract, but they're also a member of Intersect, they can't put in a request to remove those individuals because it conflicts bylaws and being a member-based org, etc. But maintainer retainer program can still compensate those folks if they're not under contract. There's a potential benefit there.
Not sure I understand that. Could you repeat?
So specific incident is IO stopped contracting well-typed. And so there was a request to remove well-typed folks, which is not, it's not bad action. It's just how things work at IO, and it's educating the dev teams to an MBO environment. But just because well-typed's contract was canceled doesn't mean they can't still contribute or be maintainers on those projects, because we're an open source nonprofit and they're both members of our organization. So regardless of politics that happens to the contracting principle, it does not reflect on how we govern our GitHub ops. That's all clarification there.
Yeah, I'd say I'm in support of like not removing them on that, of course. Also, sorry, somebody was about to speak.
Yeah, sorry.
Well,
I think that that's kind of dangerous. I think it's kind of dangerous because in general, you want one, like a clear standard for how you become a core contributor, and two, like clear mechanisms for when active work has ceased from a contract, removing them from the maintainer role, because that's when you can get people like, committing nonsense to the repo or otherwise doing things that would reflect poorly on the ecosystem. Right. In fact, like in general, it's probably best that neither IO or anyone has merge access outside of Intersect if it's an Intersect repo, because at the end of the day, you're just gonna you have at some point someone gets disgruntled and then they merge something that could be like racist or insidious or whatever, and you have problems, and there's nothing you can really do at that point.
There's like nothing you can. Wouldn't it be a matter of like just having someone else like force push like over that, or is the concern that it could be like malicious where like some
it's
guy
already
thing goes out.
malicious, right? Like if they release some bug in software, it's already out there, someone's using it, and sure, you can force push over that, but that doesn't stop like a million articles being written about how there was something introduced to this core repository of Cardano that said, fuck all, whatever, and then
But as Adam rightfully wrote, what's different with the actual situation?
What's different with the current situation? Nothing. My point is that the current situation is not good. right? Like if I've learned anything running a company, it's that you need to be very, very careful with who has the ability to merge.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, of course.
And
Yeah.
that's
But right
really
now-
my concern, is that we have a ton of vendors who can merge and intersect repositories, which is
Yeah.
very dangerous, right? You can get disgruntled people very easily, and bad things happen very quickly.
But that's
Completely.
not. Yeah.
But it's balancing the nature too of typically work like this would go through a primary nonprofit to coordinate the contract work, but we have a different decentralized ecosystem where the vendors directly contract. We're hosting the project. So we just need to make sure we have careful processes, but it can also reverberate bad the other way too, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the task here isn't very hard, right? It's not that you need to like technically review everything. It's that you just have some person who controls when things merge to main, right? And no one else does this. Like you can't allow vendors to just merge things to main, because this is like a huge security risk for the ecosystem, right? If I'm working on one of the core repos and I'm able to merge to main, then I could put in some bug that drains everyone's wallets and sends it to me. You have to have like some level of sanity. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's too dangerous.
Hello?
Like,
Am I live?
Civility.
Philip, I think you lagged for a second. Could you repeat that last part? Maybe last 15 seconds.
I was saying it's too dangerous to allow vendors the direct ability to merge on a core, right? If I'm a vendor, right, I've contributed a ton to Plutus, I've contributed to the ledger, I've contributed to a ton of the different kernel core repos. If I have direct merge access, I would never even want that. Right? I would never want direct merge access to main because of how dangerous it is, right? I could get hacked or phished on GitHub, right? Someone, find me in real life, whatever, and these things happen. It happened like dozens of times in Syria. You get someone, flip on some, and drain millions of dollars from the ecosystem, and then you'll be liable.
There are actual concrete like examples of this happening on Ethereum.
Oh, dozens of concrete examples of this happening on Ethereum.
I think that's a very heavy thing to consider then. But there was some talk of I guess I'll let everybody go first and then I'll bring this up again. Sorry, Jonathan?
I wanted to bring it back to the actual program of maintainer retainer and the fact that they wouldn't be given direct contribution to main as their setup. But if there's this discussion happening, we'll continue this discussion and I'll come back to that.
Okay. Tex?
I would state that I don't disagree with the points being raised, but we do have, I guess, a few areas of concern, whereas throughout the governance process, these organizations have been awarded the contract for development. They have the guardrails of the contract as well as the open source governance. The other thing that I would say is not that this won't change in the future, but as it stands currently, we do not currently employ an individual within Intersect that sits atop the pile to control that, that has the ability and the wherewithal to control or approve every merge that goes in. Furthermore, we don't have a specific development arm within Intersect. So we're left to be bound by our open source governance and the contracts that are awarded for who's doing that development, and then the Security Council for the post review. I can absolutely recognize that there's still issues with that, but that is just the current framework. So
right, the Security Council I think is totally fine. My point is that everyone can develop without merging to main, right? This is how software development works in practice. Everyone develops on staging, right, or on a develop branch, and people collaborate on it, and And that's what happens. And when you're merging to main, typically it's a big release, right? Everything's ready and you're good to go. And at this point, the only thing I'm saying is we should have the Security Council, a prerequisite to merging to main as a release, be the Security Council has to review it, right? You don't want to review after the fact. It's too late.
Yeah, I'd say I'm in agreement with Philip on that then. What was what can Christian, can you remind me of like what was the issue with that, like the MBO like bylaws or something like that with that
it
setup?
has to do with being a member of the same org that's hosting the repository, and if you already have a history of being a main core maintainer of that project, and then just because your contract with a development team for the specific features on hand ends, does that mean now you're being kicked out? I remember, I think Pragma had an issue with this with Michael Bencourt with the Amaru team, if I don't remember, and it turned into an X drama because he was removed from the maintainers team. But I don't know if it was contract related.
Remove anyone, right? You keep everyone as maintainers and you create a protected branch that needs the Security Council's review. And this way, at the very least, we have a guarantee that the Security Council is doing their job before things get released to end users, right? Because once something's on main, that's an endorsement that this is production, right? That's how typically people use GitHub, right? That this is usable, and that's why you have staging and develop branches, and that having the Security Council or whatever security auditing we're doing review it after it's already in the main branch is sort of pointless, right? Because it's already been exposed to end users at that point.
I think I'll second Philip's thing where yeah, we can just change it so that nobody has access to main. Then nobody has to be removed or anything. And there's still that check. To be honest though, I'm not actually sure about the composition of the security. Is the Security Council that group of 5 organizations from?
Yeah, it has 5 nominated reps.
Yeah.
If I may, what
Yes.
you're describing, Philip, is one way of doing things. There are other ways of doing things, like trunk-based development, where you are pushing features which are not complete but are behind the flag, and you consider what's production ready is what's actually released, and the release is what people are supposed to use.
Okay, yeah, sure. I agree, that's fine. And if we want to use that as the standard, right, it's the same thing. I would be totally fine with that. But the security auditing has to happen before the release.
Before releasing, yeah.
And right now, that's not the case.
No,
right?
okay. But I get, so I mean, what I'm saying is the details of how we do it, like branch protection or whatever, are not so much relevant as what gets vetted as this is Cardano, this is a Cardano node or whatever wallet or whatever that you can use in production. And this could be a release, it could be a commit, it could be potentially it could be an artifact published on crates.io in the case if it's Rust. It could be an artifact published on Hackage if it's Haskell, whatever, right? So the problem is more about the overall process of releasing and getting from a process. So that's one thing. The other thing, I've been involved from a distance because I try to avoid that into the drama around Asian and Prima and whatnot. It's interesting because the problem was not only that Matthias was removed access to main, he was also removed admin access to the repository. And so this kicks the can one step further, in that if you have admin access to the repository, that's where you decide what's branch protection, how releases are enforced, whatever. So who has the admin access? Who is going to vet that? How you are going to process that? So in the end, the whole, to me, the problem is not really in terms of branch protection and whatnot. The problem is what is the release process? I mean, is there written somewhere what is the development process of the Cardano node and the release process that everybody can point at and look at and decide, yes, this is the right release and this has been done correctly and it's been signed off by the right person and whatever. But, yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, I
Yeah.
focus too much on specifics.
No, we all. I mean, myself also. I mean, I would have been probably pushing for something else. I'm just saying that maybe the core issue, I know that because I've been beaten firsthand by this problem when I was working at IO. Like every team has their own practices. It's not unclear what everyone. I mean, it's unclear what you are releasing really. What's inside it? How it was audited, reviewed. And
maybe with Adam, Arnaud, Philip, or anyone else from the committee, do y'all want to do an off session to try and write out maybe a policy framework or recommendation for this?
we could try. Yeah, we can
Yeah,
try.
I'd be happy to.
Okay, I'll get something set up for next week. Try to make it friendly for you, Philip.
Yeah, teams are certainly going to push back against this very heavily. I agree. I know them. I agree with Adam. I've interfaced them. They all think that what they're doing is the best. But yeah, at the end of the day, like you need someone who's there to make have uncomfortable conversations because the security of the chain is more important than how comfortable contributors are. And yeah, the reason this is such a concern to me is because I know how many security issues have slipped through to mainnet and to releases. And it's incredibly dangerous. Like right now, I could take down the chain, right, in like 4 different ways for less than $500 a day. And yeah, sure, all of this stuff is known and being addressed, but this situation cannot persist, right? The only reason that the chain is live now is because there's not enough people who have like spent time looking at the core repos and reviewing the code, et cetera, to take advantage of this stuff. But economic situations change, and that will not be the case for the future, right? So the current situation cannot continue. It just cannot.
Yeah. Well, and
it feels like time travel to me, but.
I was going to say, I have a primary mandate from Jack to get security operations up and running on a more effective level. And I'm about to get IO under contract with the Security Council is the authority, and we could push it down from that for best practice, maybe.
And it seems like Phil may be one of the early bug bounty contributors.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Considering. But to bring it back to the program, I don't know if we've got time. We're 8 minutes over.
I have
time.
I don't know if anybody else does.
Well, the program, I'll just say there is a meeting set up on Monday, as was referenced, with IO representatives as well as open source office representatives to discuss the sort of level of maintenance that is being taken on board here, because the application process was a bit contentious because people were taking it that the maintainer would be directly contributing to core code in Cardano, and that made them very worried. So we're trying to work out what the level of maintenance on the maintainer retainer program actually will be, and work out a compromise for the application so that it isn't just limited to former contributors, so that there is a potential for new contributors to come on board with a limited access to what they can do. So the meeting on Monday will be to discuss what level of maintenance will be the maintainer retainer program, and to finalize the questions on the application form.
More generally, can we have a discussion on how external contributors can get to the same access levels as contracted vendors, right? Because this is important.
This is the issue, right? They don't want, the way it was put was, we don't want you, I don't need a new engineer, I think was the quote, right?
I've heard about this. But I agree. It makes no sense to give them the same access immediately, but we must have a path available that's okay, this guy's been working on the code base as an external contributor for like a year. and has had like 10 PRs merged, it's
Yeah.
probably we have to let the guy.
There is
Yeah.
the contribution ladder program, but I'll hand it to Adam. He has his hand up.
Yeah, this has just been kind of why I think this maintainer retainer program is actually important, because this maintainer retainer person should actually be trying to encourage community contributions by identifying things like good first issues and documentation gaps that people can contribute to without being contracted by XYZ corporation. So for me, I think that's what we need to do. People are just getting fixated on the fact that we're calling it a maintainer role. So the team leads are obviously feeling threatened and trying to piss on the fire hydrant. But I think as long as we make the package more palatable and make them understand that we're not trying to step on their toes, but we're trying to help them and help our overall open source ecosystem, I think we can get it to work. I know Arnaud is still skeptical as well, probably from his experience, but yeah, definitely echoing kind of like what Johnny said. Like, there's a lot of pushback. Like, no, it can only be people that have already had a successfully merged pull request or whatever. And it's like, well, you don't allow anybody else to get those. So you're very much gatekeeping access to these programs. So
right, I agree. We should probably rename it from maintainer. I think that's a very it's just going to cause a lot of issue.
Something less controversial, like contributor, contributor guidance, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Contributor interface, or
you really don't want a maintainer to be easy. You don't want it to be easy to become a maintainer of an open source repository with so many users, right? But my point more generally is around the process of becoming one, right? If you're an external contributor who's been contributing for a year, right? At some point, we have to have some process where it's not just who gets to gatekeep the entire ledger, right? It needs to be, at some point, Intersect can say, you now have contributed like sufficiently that you should have equal access and ownership. Yeah, so no names. That was not fair of me at all. I shouldn't have said that.
I'm half kidding, but
more generally, yes, it shouldn't be the existing maintainers, which is a very small clique, to be able to say, okay, no one else can ever become a maintainer, right? Despite like an endless amount of, if you do the work, you should be able to. We need to create a pathway where external contributors and new vendors can get access that's equal to existing ones.
I'm ahead of you on that, Phil. We have the contribution ladder, which is like an open source Web 2 old thing. We did curate it kind of to general frameworks. I'm gonna put it as an MD file on projects for the project teams to determine what specific criteria they generally want. But it goes from new contributor all the way to core maintainer and like roles in between of expanded, trusted contribution access.
Yeah, no, Adam Dean is getting to my point, is that the contributor ladder I know about, and I think it's great. But the issue is that the existing project team that you're talking about is such a clique that, okay, even if someone comes in as an amazing external contributor, contributes over the course of a year, like a great depth of PRs and feature releases and bug fixes, there is no incentive for them and no path to force them to make this person a maintainer, right? There should be a system through Intersect, if we want to be an unbiased organization, that says, here's the criteria for becoming a maintainer, right? And if you do this, the existing team around that project has no influence over, preventing external contributors, because it's very hard to let go of sole maintainership of a repository, right? It's like, it's an ego thing. There are technical concerns around it. You're losing some level of control over feature development. So I think it's very important that there's like a set out process of, okay, here's this unbiased party that evaluates whether someone has done sufficient work to become a core maintainer.
It's also highlighted in the governance policy that was written a while back by Michael Peyton Jones and Mar Chin. It copies from the Apache Software Foundation, where you have project management committees that evaluate and grant roles and stuff like that. And it's removing a single benefit dictator, I'd say, on the project. So if we actually incorporate that governance on a hard scale and change a little bit on the team dynamics, I think that'll help. And then the contribution ladder is just general guidance for people. But we also do have a maintainer eval doc that I think we need to restructure as well, which is if someone's coming into that role, there's an evaluation period with limited rights before they're granted full access and KPIs associated. So we do have the artifacts are there. We just need to curate it in one movement.
And hopefully the meeting on Monday will start pushing the needle on that. So we'll see. We'll report back.
Okay. So in terms of like concrete, like next steps about that, like we have what was the meeting on Monday?
Between IO representatives already maintaining repositories, open source office, and open source committee members. Anyone who wants to come along, let me know, and I'll get that added to the invitation. It's currently set to happen at, let's check the time. Oh, hang on.
Yeah, can you send it to me too? Is it the OSC catch up?
I don't think so.
From Jeff
It was
Wilson?
from Jeff. Yeah, if it's from Jeff, then that's the right one.
Okay.
So it's at 3 p.m. UTC on Monday, the 18th of August.
3 p.m. UTC is. Oh, that is.
You probably should have made that for an hour rather than half an hour.
45 minutes from now on Monday. It's an interesting way to put it, but yes, relatively speaking, it's 45 minutes from now, but in the future on Monday.
24 hours, 45 minutes. I think.
Yeah, hashing this out kind of determines the future for the whole OSC budget, kind of. So at least in regards to core project.
Okay. All right. Gonna write that down. Could you send me the invite for that also? I don't know if I can't like promise right now that I'll be able to attend that. Thank you. But if I have the meeting for it, then I'll be able to click accept on it or whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna write that down on.
If anybody wants to DM me an email address, I'll get it added.
Yeah, I'll send you mine. Okay. Yeah, with all that done. Oh, yes.
No, I was saying like I won't participate in the meeting, but
sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
I won't attend that meeting. So no need to send to forward the invitation or extend the invitation to me.
Okay.
Phil, also a reminder in the Discord, there's 2 incubation requests. If you can put a vote on whether you think they should join or not join under Intersect's incubation program.
I have placed my votes.
Same.
What was the criteria used to evaluate that?
There's acceptance criteria for the different project evaluation levels. But generally it's one of them is Fusion 5 from Emergo Labs in Africa. Like it's more product based, so the general consensus is it doesn't really align for Intersect to host or incubate that project. The other one is from the No Witness Labs, your previous team guys. They're doing a different version of Evolution SDK that they wish to incubate under Intersect.
Okay, got it.
Okay, cool. So one last thing before we close, and this is not like a thing that needs any actual discussion, just wanted to note, everyone, if you could, I sent everybody like a DM, please like check it. Lucas also tagged everyone for this before. There's a Lettuce Meet like link. It's just like an availability like calendar thing where you can get like overlap. If you fill that out and watch the previous Zeit, we're not going to be using that anymore, but if you could just take a look at it to make sure that like everybody's looked at it. If you could just do those 2 things, especially the Lettuce Meet, the having that availability for like hours and stuff, like really helps with like coordinating stuff. Yeah, just please do that. And with that said, I think if there's no other topics anyone wants to raise, I think we can adjourn the meeting. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thanks everyone. See you later. Next time I will try to cut the time down a little bit. Although next time we'll have Lucas also. So yes. Thanks
Thank you.
everyone. Bye-bye.